This is South Georgia. It is extremely windy. It's about 60 to 70 miles an hour winds. So we have been chased by a storm down here. We actually got to South Georgia faster than planned, almost a day faster, in fact. And the plan was we were going to try and do some landings, particularly in Salisbury Plain, which is the famous plain, but it was just too windy and dangerous to go out. So we tried another spot, again too windy. So we're sheltering in this bay here, this rather gorgeous bay with these incredible glaciers and stuff around. It's really cold out here, and hopefully tomorrow morning the wind will die down. It's now around 14 hours since I last recorded that, and it just shows you how dramatically things change here once you head down into Antarctica. So it's now the morning. As you can see, it's blue skies, no wind. It's quite warm in relative terms now. I think it's about 6 degrees Celsius or so. So the good news is we're going to be heading out on 2 amazing landings. So let's go and join me on the first one. You probably hear behind me lots of excited chitter-chatter amongst the sounds of the waves and the animals squawking away. So we're now here on we're landing in Possession Bay. There are quite a big colony of king penguins. There's some fur seals, some elephant seals, and it's just great kind of getting up close. Of course, we're supposed to keep a distance from the various animals. The penguins especially are particularly inquisitive, so they do tend to kind of come kind of close. But this is a magnificent place because you've got these beautiful glaciers. You've got a bit of a hill up there that we climbed up to for a bit of a viewpoint. Not so cold, it's about 6 degrees. Winds building up, so hopefully it doesn't build up too much so we can actually make the next stop. When people think of South Georgia, they think of where I am now, really, Salisbury Plain. It's probably the most famous of all the places. Now it's extremely windy, so I'm hoping you can hear this. That's why I'm cupping the microphone in my hand. So I hope this kind of works. But it is an incredible plain. As you can see, it's very open, which is also why the wind comes kind of gusting through here. It has around 60,000 breeding pairs of king penguins, apparently the second biggest colony on South Georgia. A lot of elephant seals on the beach. And you can see the massive change from just this morning where we had blue skies, where it's changed really fast. Again, the penguins are incredibly inquisitive. They keep kind of coming up to people to see what's going on. So I'm really glad we made it here because this is kind of like an iconic place to come and visit, but magnificent. Just seeing these rows and rows and clumps of these king penguins all over the place is just brilliant. Well, in the ever-changing weather situation in Antarctica today, it's very cloudy, it's very rainy, but no wind. So behind me is a clue to where we are today. This is actually a call into probably the most important kind of historical, commercial part of South Georgia. It's Grytviken. Carl Anton Larsen, who was a Norwegian sealer and whaler, in 1904 created a whaling station here in Grytviken. And it was to get oil. Oil was used that time for street lamps, for cosmetics. This actual site only closed in 1966, so the mid-60s, because the demand for whale oil plummeted. Also, there was more kind of sense of ecology and conservation. So according to the small museum that's here, around about 400 men would work here during the season, down to 90 in winter. And 175,000 whales were killed in the waters around South Georgia when the whaling industry was operating here. 175,000. It's mind-boggling. Also here in Grytviken is where the South Georgia government has a scientific base, has some of the admin here, and there's a museum and a shop. Grytviken is also renowned because this is the resting place of Ernest Shackleton. His grave is actually here. He actually died right here in Grytviken when he was heading off on another expedition, and his wife wanted his body buried here. And there was a ceremony toasting the boss, because that's what everyone used to call him. So it was quite remarkable seeing his actual grave. So near and yet so far. So behind me is Gold Harbour. It's very windy, which is why I'm cupping the microphone here. It's just too choppy, too windy to land, which is a pity because it's our last chance of landing here in South Georgia. So we are going to hang around, see if the wind dies down, which is unlikely, and then perhaps do some scenic cruising through some fjords. So we arrived at Drygalski Fjord, and it was completely foggy, overcast, and not at all great. So we hung out for quite a few hours, and then suddenly at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon it all lifted and it just cleared up. It's bitterly cold out here. I'm on deck 6. Hopefully you can hear me. It's very windy, it's very cold, but there's gorgeous glaciers, so it was well worth hanging around the day hoping that this would kind of pass. Quite magnificent.